What's up, YouTube? I am back up on my soapbox. It feels good. It's been a little while. But I went to a show 2 nights ago, and it just ignited this rant that I've been holding back for years. And I think it's finally time to just get it off my chest and move on with my life. So, on Thursday night, I saw Children of Bodom at the Paradise Rock Club in Boston. Really cool show. It was my fourth time seeing them, so it wasn't necessarily special for me. The last time I saw them was in Huntington, New York, Long Island, at the Paramount, which is where Testament filmed their last DVD, that killer New Testament DVD, which I highly recommend. And that show, very much for me, was special. It was just, everything about it was just special. So I wasn't expecting that again. I just wanted to hear some Children of Bodom, get in the pit a little bit, let some of that energy out, just have some fun. And by all accounts, I did. It was fun. You're never going to go see a bad Children of Bodom show. They're just a killer band. One thing that bums me out a little bit about their set list is that they don't vary it up enough. Like, Children of Bodom is very much one of those bands that's not bogged down by a hit song or, like, you know, an Enter Sandman or a Master of Puppets where they have to play it. They can really get away with playing almost any deep cut, and it'll make everybody excited and everyone will love it. But unfortunately, their set list is pretty much the same. Like, it was still Six Pounder, Are You Dead Yet, Blood Drunk, Lake Bodom. Pretty basic. They did play Towards Dead End from Hatebreeder, which was really cool. I had never heard that one live. So they always throw like one wrench in the works. Like when I saw them in New Jersey, they played Children of Decedents. I think that's how you pronounce it. Decadence maybe. Which was really cool. It was like one of the only times they'd ever play that live. But I would love to see them mix it up more because I think almost all their songs are awesome. So, but nevertheless, it was still fun. I still had a great time. Highly recommend seeing Children of Bodom if you haven't seen them. That's just a really fun band to see. Because you got the combination of like the heaviness and you got the pit going and everything, but you also got some really cool musicianship. So there's times in the show where you wanted to step back and just watch. It's just really cool. Anyway, that ignited just... I've managed to repress it for a few years now, but I gotta just say it. Which is... What's nice about no one watching these videos is that I can say stuff that a lot of people disagree with, and I'm not going to get any mean, hurtful comments from the lovely YouTube community. Which, I mean, I can handle that. It's just, this is an issue that really bothers a lot of people. Because a lot of people disagree on it. But the issue today is Children of Bodom's discography. Is it an even or an uneven discography? And let me clarify what I mean by that. Even doesn't necessarily mean consistent stylistically. It doesn't mean that the records are cohesive. It means that they are relatively stable in terms of quality. And I say relatively because, like any music fan with an opinion, you're gonna like other ones more than others. That's the way discographies go. Even a band like Slayer, where everything sounds the same, you still have your favorite records. You still have people saying they like Seasons in the Abyss more than Divine Intervention. You know, you still have that. An example of an uneven discography, this is a very obvious and glaring one, but I'm going to use it to make my point. Metallica. If you take their first, like, 5 or 6 albums, like, even Load or Reload, really. I mean, most people wouldn't conclude that, but you take all those albums, and then you put Saint Anger, you listen to Saint Anger afterwards, it's just this huge gap in quality. And that's uneven, because it's not even close. You can hate on the Black Album all you want, but in terms of musical quality, it is close to those first 4 albums. It's different. It's very different. It's streamlined. The songs are shorter. But for all intents and purposes, it's quality heavy metal that has stood the test of time. And I am absolutely sick of hearing Children of Bodom's discography shat on in the way that people talk about Metallica's discography. People act like Are You Dead Yet Forward is like Metallica from 1996 to 2004 or 3 when Saint Anger came out. It's just not true, and I'm so sick of it. Children of Bodom has, for me, 3 pretty distinct eras. They have that first neoclassical period, which is really just the first 2 albums, Something Wild and Hatebreeder. Then you have Fall Reaper and Hate Death Roll, where they start transitioning and experimenting with some more like American sounds. Not that any of the other stuff before wasn't American riffs on there, but a lot of it was neoclassical, Yngwie influenced, European, like some black metal in there. So they started experimenting with some American sounds, and then with Are You Dead Yet, Blood Drunk, and Relentless, Reckless Forever, they really push that style more, but while maintaining their signature elements, which is this just drives me nuts. It's gonna be really hard to articulate because when you have an opinion that you're really serious about, it's hard to almost get out what you're trying to say about it. Here's my overall point, and then I'll just yell for the next 10 minutes or whatever. Children of Bodom, while changing their styles significantly in the last, let's see, they've been together now about almost 20 years, if you include the in-earth period. They, while changing their styles drastically in that period, they have very much retained a core elements that make up the band. They have not lost sight of those. Harsh vocals haven't gone away. It's not like he's singing clean now. Well, there's a ballad on the new album where he kind of sings clean, but for all intents and purposes, it's a similar vocal. In my opinion, the vocals have improved. I'm not crazy about the raspy black metal delivery on those first two albums. I think the new vocals are better, but the harsh vocals are there. The keyboard solos are there. The guitar solos are there. The metal riffs are there. It's the same fucking band, just playing a slightly different style. People act like old Children of Bodom is like this untouchable, amazing music also, which I think their whole catalog is amazing. They're one of my top 5 bands ever. But those first couple albums have clunkers on them. Like, you're going to tell me that... Well, I actually like The Nail. Let me think. Part 2 of Red Light in My Eyes. That's not a great song. Especially on this first album, the structure is just too loose. It's very loose, and it's black metal influenced, I'll give you that, but... Like I'm not talking to anyone but myself. It's black metal influence, so you'll see looser song structure, but I think Children of Bodom functions much better in a more concise song structure. I think it works better. As a guitar player also, I was 3 years old when Something Wild came out, so I can't say much, but if I were to have heard that album when it came out, I would have said, wow, this is just Yngwie ripoff, which it's a really heavily Yngwie influenced. I think Alexi Laiho has found a much more distinctive, unique style later in his career by throwing in some blues and throwing in some more Dimebag Darrell-y kind of things with the neoclassical approach. But I'm just my point being those first two albums aren't untouchable either. That being said, there are problems in the albums that people criticize. Blood Drunk and Are You Dead Yet have some filler in them. But my point is that Blood Drunk, for example, that's one like probably the most hated on Children of Bodom album. There is some killer, essential Bodom material on that album. You're going to tell me that, title track aside, you're going to tell me that Band from Heaven, Tie My Rope, and One Day You Will Cry are not some of the best Children of Bodom albums? You're telling me that if they played that live, you wouldn't jump in the pit. You'd, like... Blood Drunk is Children of Bodom playing Children of Bodom, but incorporating the most thrash, the most American thrash they have in any of their albums. And the experiment is cool. I think it's really cool to hear them playing something that sounds like an Exodus album from the late 80s. I think that's cool. And you still hear keyboards. There are less keyboards on Blood Drunk, but it's the same band. If you put like Mask of Sanity from Follow the Reaper next to, say, Blood Drunk, those two songs sound like they're the same band. So I'm sick of people saying that all of a sudden there's just this shitty band playing watered down metalcore or whatever people accuse them of. They're still ripping keyboard solos. There's that awesome dual solo in Smile Pray for the Devil, that harmonized guitar solo after the keyboard solo. Who says there's no keyboards? There's keyboard solos on all those songs. Just like any of the other albums, there's one or two filler songs on that out. Like I don't like Done With Everything, Die For Nothing. I think it's kind of a filler song. But Hatebreeder has filler songs too. Something Wild has filler songs. So people really need to stop talking about latter Children of Bodom like it's this enormous drop-off in quality. Yes, it changes stylistically, and if you have stylistic preference for one era or the other, I completely understand. I myself am partial to Follow the Reaper and Hate Crew Death Roll. Those are two of the best metal albums ever written. But I love Relentless Reckless Forever. I think that's a killer album. And Halo of Blood is killer too. But the big difference for me was when Halo of Blood came out last year, people were like, "Oh, it's Children of Bodom returning to form," and to me, it was just another great Children of Bodom album. Yeah, they brought back some of the Follow the Reaper keyboards. Transference sounds like it's off Follow the Reaper. I'll give you that, but it's not like just so. Yes, they brought their style closer to that era, but it's not like they made a record that's immensely better in quality than Relentless Records Forever. I think both of those albums are awesome. And whether you prefer one or the other is up to you. But my point being, the quality of heavy metal they're playing is not different. The style is different. That's a really important distinction. And I'm just sick of people saying that more thrash riffs and less keyboards means worse music. That's just... Recognize that your personal preference and the overall quality of a heavy metal album don't always overlap. And I recognize that. Like, when I hear a good black metal, I don't like black metal, but when I hear an old Vader record, or when I hear, like, certain Norwegian bands, like an old Satyricon record, I can recognize the quality of black metal that they're playing, even though it's not something that I'm into. And people need to figure that out with Children of Bodom, that if you prefer more keyboards, good for you, but they're still a ripping heavy metal band playing, to me, uncompromisingly heavy music. It's a whole other thing when a band sells out. When a band starts throwing in clean choruses and, like, I don't know, has rappers guest on their albums, like fucking like Five Finger Death Punch, or that's another thing. But changing from one heavy style of metal, the European style of the first two albums, to an American style of metal is not selling out. It's changing styles. It's not like Are You Dead Yet is this huge commercial push. I mean, yeah, it's... In America, it was more widely accepted because it had more American styles. But it's the same band playing ripping keyboard solos, and Alexi Laiho playing awesome fucking solos. Like, there's some of the best Children of Bodom solos are on that album. That's the solo for Punch Me I Bleed is like it's like the Every Time I Die solo of that album to me. Wow, I've already been going for 12 and a half minutes. That's just like, the problem with this is I'm really passionate about it, and I could go on for about 3 hours about how people were wrong about Children of Bodom's discography. And there's probably a million things I haven't said that I want to say. Maybe I'll just make a part 2. But here's my bottom line. Children of Bodom's discography is even and consistent in quality, much more so than people give it credit for. They've changed up a lot, which is something I like when bands do because it keeps it interesting, but the quality hasn't dropped off. Blood Drunk has 5 or 6 songs that are right up there with other Children of Bodom classics. You're telling me that Tie My Rope, Smile Pretty for the Devil, Banned from Heaven, the title track, your Lobotomy even, you're not telling me those songs are awesome metal just like what's played on Follow the Reaper? The point is that Children of Bodom are one of the most important metal bands of this era, the last 15, 20 years. And one of the things that's made them so important is that they've been able to play so many different cool styles. From fucking Yngwie style metal on that first album, basically it's Yngwie with black metal vocals, to like the Americanized stuff like In Your Face from Are You Dead Yet? That's a cool song. And they've been able to play all these styles while retaining elements that are very much consistent, and while retaining the elements that make their fans love them. And I think any true Children of Bodom fan can see that they've really been consistent by all intents and purposes. Just because they chose to explore different factions of metal in the process doesn't mean they sold out or became a shitty band. Like, Halo of Blood is an awesome record, but it's not this huge return to form. It's just another great installment in the discography of one of the best heavy metal bands of all time. And some people will never recognize that, and I feel bad for them because they're missing out. There's great stuff on every album. You should listen to every single one. And after that, pick your preference. I have preferences among the discography just like everyone. But my overall point is that the quality is relatively consistent. They don't compromise the heaviness. They simply have remained for over 15 years one of the best heavy metal bands to ever do it.